to new statewide family-friendly school resources guide, self-assessment, and digital playbook and school certificate. So we are very excited to have two great speakers, one from the Pritchard Committee and one from KDE. And I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi, Jocelyn. This is Laura Beard. I'm actually standing in today for Brooke Gill from the Pritchard Committee. She's out sick. I have with me today Grace McKenzie and Tara Rodriguez. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. We'll just go through introductions right here at the beginning, if that's okay with the other two. I am the manager of family engagement at the Pritchard Committee, and I work on our statewide family engagement center grant, along with Brooke Gill and our partners in our collaborative. I also oversee a program called the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership, which many of you may have heard of, and that's really about building parent leaders throughout our state. I'll turn it over to Tara and then Grace.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tara Rodriguez. I am the Director of the Division of School and Program Improvement at KDE. So glad to be with you this morning.
And good morning, all. My name is Grace McKenzie. I'm the Associate Director of Family Partnership here at Partners for Education at Berea College. And so I work both with the Kentucky Collaborative for Families and Schools and throughout the grants that we serve in our programs. Laura. Mute.
Can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
I need to go back to the beginning here. Sorry. So this is actually exciting because it's the first time I've met Tara and we're like presenting together. So isn't that cool? I do want to talk a little bit about the collaborative. I mentioned that we were a part of the Statewide Family Engagement Center, and that grant comes from the U.S. Department of Education. We're one of 12 states that was awarded this grant. And you'll see here our partners at the Pritchard Committee. We're really doing this under the umbrella of the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership. We have partners at the National Center for Families Learning, folks in Northern Kentucky from Learning Grove, and then our partners in Eastern Kentucky for Partners for Education. Today, we're going to just talk about the work we've been doing over the past almost 18 months now. I think we started getting this started. And I talk about the regional partners here, KDE being an integral piece of the puzzle to put this together, and can't speak highly enough about the work that they've done to collaborate with us on this effort. But I do want to mention that our advisory council that makes up our collaborative is made up of parents, students, educators, community organizations. And without that partnership, this could not have come together the way that it did. So we have 30 minutes and this will like fly by. So I'm not going to read everything, but what we will try to cover is talking about why family engagement is important, especially right now. Introduce you to the new Kentucky statewide resources, what they are, how to find them, and how to use them. And then some of the goals that we have for Kentucky family engagement work and how you can support and utilize the materials. So I'm going to share this video. Grace, if you can give me a thumbs up that it can be heard. This is Jay Brewer. He's with Dayton Independent Schools. This has been a video that we've kind of shared to set the tone for the work that we're doing. I think it's a great message from him.
I'm very excited about this upcoming school year and the opportunities we're going to have to expand our work with parents. The mission of Dayton Independent Schools is to inspire, engage, and grow our students. And this year we've extended that mission to add on two key words: and families. The why behind this extension of our mission is based on the understanding that to grow our students, we must know our students, and no one knows our students better than our families. So this school year, we're going to shift 3 instructional days to 3 positive parenting partnership days. We're going to have a day at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and at the end of the year, a reflection on how the school year went, in which we sit down and talk with parents, not talk to parents. We're going to listen, we're going to learn, we're going to make authentic conversations about the strengths of the child and the opportunities for growth for this child. So our goal is to improve communication and trust through conversations and listening. We often see that schools can kind of have this factory model. Kids come in, kids come out. There's not this whole partnership wrapped around the child, and that's what we're after in our positive parenting partnerships. So we spent some time reading the book Powerful Partnerships, and we see in core belief number 4 that the primary responsibility for establishing and cultivating these relationships lies on the school staff and school leadership. So that's why we're creating these days, setting aside that critical time to work with parents, work with them through conversations to learn more. So at Dayton Independent Schools, we are making the building of parent partnerships a top priority in our district. This school year, we're taking that bold step and setting aside time to create a system in which we ensure that we partner with parents to grow their children. We believe firmly that we must leverage the power found in our families and the many strengths that they have to achieve our mission to inspire, engage, and grow.
So why are we doing family engagement work? We have some research, many years of research in family engagement. And the best predictor of student success is the extent to which families encourage learning at home and involve themselves in their child's education. So we think about our families as first teachers. Research suggests if schools successfully engage families in education, their children, regardless of ethnic, racial, or socioeconomic backgrounds, are more likely to, and I'll just let you kind of look at those bullets there. So we see the power in having families engaged and involved in our schools. So why is family engagement important, especially right now? The Pritchard Committee student voice team at the time did some coping with COVID surveys, and that included work with parents and educators around really getting to some answers about what was happening as we were transitioning to online learning and as we were at the very beginnings of this pandemic. And so some of the information that we've gathered has really helped us expand on why family engagement is so important. But it expands the capacity of schools by providing more helping hands. When families are at the table, they're more understanding when things don't go as planned. It sets a strong foundation for remote learning when needed. And we now have the opportunity really to reimagine engagement and relationship building and not just those in-person events. So just kind of, if you can use your emoji or put in the chat, how many folks are familiar with the missing piece of the proficiency puzzle? This was a document that was really put together by, at the time, the Commissioner's Parent Advisory Council. It was initiated in 2006. I think it was actually put to print in 2007. Many educators, trainers for SBDMs really relied on this document to give them a clear path, clear strategies for family engagement. And what we know is that if some of those things had been put into place in our schools, it would have been easier really to transition as we needed to online learning and have those parents connected to the school in the way that the missing piece really laid out. So we recognize that the missing piece had not been updated in quite some time. And so while many of the best practices of the missing piece were still relevant today, we really wanted to dig down to look at how we could revamp this and how we could create an online resource that could be added to kind of as a living document so we can add to it, update it as necessary. So I want to introduce you today to those new resources. So instead of Missing Piece 2.0, it's now called the Family and School Partnership Statewide Resources Guide. So the Kentucky Family and School Partnership Guide. The first is the comprehensive guide. So that number 1 there, if you click on that on our website, that'll take you into things like our online training modules, some history of parent engagement, especially history of parent engagement in Kentucky. It'll take you to our self-assessment, which is what we recommend that all schools work together as a team to complete. Our most popular resource right now is our Family Engagement Digital Playbook. So it's built off of the self-assessment categories. And then as you're going through the self-assessment, you can find strategies within the family engagement playbook that other schools have utilized and that have been proven to be successful. We're also launching our family-friendly schools certification. And so Grace McKenzie will talk a little bit about that later on, but I wanted to just share with you that that is open to all schools now. So we do have a learning network that was given kind of first look at the materials. They signed on with us to be a part of this learning network and help us actually develop the resources that you see in front of you, try them out, provide feedback. And so we really utilize that learning network made up of parents, teachers, community members to really get these resources up and going. So our digital playbook is really cool. You click on it, it opens up just like a book would. Click on the tabs. Here are the focus areas: relationship building, two-way communication, shared responsibility, advocacy, and community partnerships. Grace, I'm going to pivot to you for this one since this is your subcommittee, so you can talk a little bit more about it. I'm sorry to throw this
Okay,
at
Laura,
you right away.
no worries.
All righty.
So all of the material really support moving towards becoming a family-friendly certified school. I want to acknowledge that the process itself is really important. And we have one of our principals presenting at an upcoming session, and I was in a meeting with her recently where she said, regardless of whether or not we get the certification in March, the process has been incredibly important to me as a principal in setting the CSIP and in helping develop an effective family engagement plan. So as you can see, we've got the requirements for what that process looks like. Those are also on the website, which is linked in the link with all of our resources that you got a little a moment ago. I will say that our first application window opens this upcoming March 1st, and it's open through April 1st, and we'll follow up with an email notification as well as a public celebration of all schools that get certified. It's our first time, so we are excited to offer this recognition of what schools are already doing well, as well as all of the resources to support schools in this continuous improvement in family engagement. If you have any questions about the process of certification, feel free to reach out directly to me. I will put my email in the chat.
Thanks so much, Grace. I appreciate it. So we're going to give you a little bit of time just to kind of click through some of the resources. And as Grace mentioned, if you toggle to your resource page in the grid, you'll be able to see those resources. And I might just cut down the time just a little bit. Tara, I'm not sure how much time you want to spend on your slide.
I just need a few minutes.
Okay. Do you need to share your screen?
No.
Okay.
No, if you can just, advance that slide when it gets to it.
Okay, great.
To save you a few clicks, I put the link directly to the resources in the chat as well.
Perfect, Grace. Thank you. Do like one more minute.
Or I'll also just go ahead and note that some of the folks on the call may already have done a deep dive, and so they may also have some other insights from having seen it already.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I noticed that several people on the call are a part of this learning network. So if you have anything to add or questions that you have, just feel free to go ahead and add them in the chat there, and we'll pick up with them in our question and answer time. All right, we'll keep moving here. Which tool seemed the most useful to you? Anybody have a particular tool that they were able to kind of click on in those 3 minutes or so? And if you've already seen these materials before, think about the tool that you go to most often. I'm going to say that I work with our Family Resource Use Service Center coordinators throughout Kentucky, and they tend to really utilize the digital playbook. They like the way that it's laid out. I think it's easy to use. Shelly also reported on the playbook. Shelly and Cheryl both are actually in our learning network. So that's awesome. I think that's the other really neat thing about the resources is that, you know, oftentimes they're created in kind of a bubble without a lot of input from the stakeholders. And we've really made sure to put them out there so they can be utilized by the folks who will be using the most and getting their feedback and changing things as necessary. Thinking about how you might use these resources in your school or community. And then really, I know we haven't had a lot of time to describe the user experience, but I would just say, you know, do you like the idea of having the digital resource, or is it still one of those things that you'd like to have in your hands as like a paper copy? I think that's been, you know, hard for some people to transition to is going online to grab resources, but we felt like that was the best way to kind of keep this updated the way that it needed to be. So just any thoughts around that, you can drop in the chat. And I'll say that as we do presentations like this, we're still gathering feedback. So we'll always be kind of tweaking our process and tweaking our resources based on the feedback we get from folks who are using it. So Julia likes it being online because it's easy to find. Thanks, Julia. Great. I will turn it over to Tara.
Thank you. So as Julia has and Laura have talked about, there have been a lot of collaboration between KDE and the other partners that they've worked with, and reviewing the guidebook and these other resources. So one question that was at the forefront has been how these materials align with some of the other work that schools and districts are required to do. And two requirements that I would like to specifically mention are school improvement planning and federal education programs. Currently, schools and districts submit their needs assessments during phase 2. And we sometimes see schools that will identify parent and family engagement as a need in their school that then leads into their CSIP work. So it depends on what your needs assessment identifies as a need in your school, but that's one possible connection to this work. And also with the comprehensive school improvement plan, or CSIP, there's not currently a separate requirement for a goal around parent and family engagement. However, having a parent and family engagement component in any of the required goals would align well and strengthen them, making it more likely that you could reach your goal. So if you think about your proficiency goals in reading and math as an example, it seems logical that engagement with parents and families would be part of that work. So if you, for example, if the goal was to increase the percentage of students scoring at the proficient and distinguished levels in math, you would have several activities that you would plan to do to meet that goal. And you could create another activity about engagement with families about the math program at your school. And depending on what that engagement looked like, it could help you meet your proficiency goal and also help you meet some requirements in other areas such as Title 1A. And then speaking of federal programs like Title 1A, most, if not all of them, have a required parent and family engagement program and a component, and some are very specific about what the school or district has to do to meet the requirements. It really depends on the program, so it's important that you understand the requirements of each program. And one resource that I'd like to share is the matrix that's linked on this slide. The matrix is in the guidebook that Laura's been speaking, that Grace and Laura have been speaking with you about. It's a chart that lists several state and federal programs and requirements of parent and family engagement and provides links to supporting documents. You might find that chart helpful. And now Laura has some information on some additional support that's available.
Thanks. I think I'm actually going to turn it over to Grace.
Okay.
Just to let you know about an upcoming opportunity. So on February the 9th, we have our first What's Working Wednesday. We noticed a need to really connect between evidence-based family engagement practices and to share what's working across the state. So we'll have, we have between 11:30 and 1 o'clock allotted for that. The first 45 minutes will be with us sharing something that's happening, and then there will be also someone from the state who will be discussing the process around what's required in terms of evidence for Title I and all of the things that you see there, including CSIPs. And then after that, we'll have some time for our family-friendly learning network. So that first 45 minutes is really just open to anyone if you want to learn more about evidence-based best practices around family engagement. And so as we enter into this work, we really think about improving family engagement. We've got to go beyond family events and newsletters, and instead we really need to put our time and energy into strategies that help staff get to know families so we can build trusting relationships between families and teachers. And I would say beyond that, just creating a team of support for students. In this work of family engagement, we also come with that lens of supporting students. And just like we heard this morning in terms of building relationships inside the school, we're just thinking about that expansion beyond the school walls, both with families and communities, to really ensure that support for students. So that's the lens that we bring to the work. And now we've got some time for question and answers. So you could come off mute, or you could put anything in the chat if you would like.
I had a question about the certification process. So if we did the self-assessment this year, could we use that data to apply in the fall? Or would it need to be more current data? That makes
Laura,
sense.
I'll let you also chime in here. We have not had that question, and since we're right at the beginning, I think that if you're doing the work of the assessment, that that would still be fine. I know how challenging it can be to navigate the summer and the gap of having people around. So I'm good with that. What about you, Laura?
Yeah, I was going to say Brooke and I, Brooke Gill actually leads this effort. And like I said, she's out sick today, but, you know, we've had conversations around this first year as being a pilot year, and really we're still, you know, tweaking our resources, like I mentioned. And so I think we're going to have questions that really challenge us to think about the process itself. And so the other thing we're kind of encouraging our learning network folks is not to be too stressed out about this first application, because the first application will probably be the least scrutinized as far as applications go, because it's our first time. And so it'll probably be the easier year. You do need to reapply each year. So I would even go as far as saying, if you've completed the self-assessment and you've done that with a team and you feel like you're pretty close to what you need as far as maybe even applying this year just to get feedback, you know, maybe you want to send in your self-assessment just for feedback this year. And you're like, you know, I just want to note that we're not actually completing the entire application. We just want feedback. I think this year we're not going to be inundated with applications. So it's possible that our team would be able to review that. And then certainly, I think with the reapplication process, folks who do get certified are going to be expanding on their work. So they're going to be, you know, working within that self-assessment that they completed to expand on it. So I think the answer would definitely be yes.
This is Jenny Hobson, and I kind of think of that self-assessment as a living document. You've got a team that's going to be going back over it as you make changes, and so I don't see that being a problem.
Jenny's also part of our team, so thanks, Jenny.
And she's part of the subcommittee work with me that's going to be focused on reviewing those applications. So
some questions that kind of came up recently were, if you're looking at the application, you're going to see what the team is comprised of. So we've got the educators, parents, and building leader. And our Frisky coordinators were saying, do we count as an educator? Yes. But you'll want to make sure that you're not filling all of the slots with Frisk coordinators. So the other question was about parents, and I encouraged some of the coordinators. I currently serve as an advisory council member for our Frisk in my county, and right now we're kind of in a lull as far as our work. So parents are just, you know, joining the meetings and approving minutes and things like that, but we're not really engaged in a lot of the activities going on. So if you're looking for parents, think about those parents who have signed on to be a part of a team, but maybe right now don't have a lot to do. So, you know, just extend an invitation maybe for them to join your family engagement team.
I would add that the family engagement team that's noted can be a part of a ongoing group. It doesn't have to exist outside of an ongoing group that you have. So I know that some schools are using that Frisk group to support this work. So instead of making another team to do the work, you can think about it as a part of the work of an ongoing group.
And then in our last couple of minutes, I'll just say that after this break, we'll be back here in this breakout room to hear from some principals from our Family Friendly School Network. So they're going to do a panel if you're interested in hearing more about how they're rolling it out in their areas.